For the late start. I apologize for the late start. We were having technical difficulties with my computer, actually. So just want to advise everybody that I'm glad everybody got the notice that we went back to remote, according to the mayor's office, as of September 22nd. We would continue, we had the option to continue to meet remotely until October 22nd. And I'm going to read now the committee, the meeting guidelines. Oh, so again, if you're calling in, then you should use the phone number given, and in your here available commands, enter asterisk on your phone, *6 mute or to unmute yourself, or *9 for virtual hand raise. And how we're going to run this meeting. Community Board 7 has the right to remove or ask a member of the public to have to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of this meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the Executive Board Committee or any other committee for a ban, the amount of time to be adductively determined by the above committees of the participant in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. Thank you very much. We will continue the review of our Community Board 7 bylaws. Everybody should still have their copies. This is a working committee of the board of Community Board 7. And so as such, it is the board that is working on these edits, etc. So with that, let's take attendance. We have in attendance, of course, I don't have my attendance sheet in here. You have Aisha Bravo, our district manager, is present for now. Yahaira Arias.
Yahaira Arias present.
Barbara Stronzer.
Barbara Stronzer is present.
Angela Osa. I know he's present because we just heard him. Betty,
present.
yeah, Angela, Betty Arce.
Betty Arce present.
And Victor Saldana. He's on. Are you still on, Victor? I see you on. Just say you're present. Okay, so we are going to continue with the editing of. Okay, thank you. And welcome all other board members that have attended and the public. Thank you very much. So we will continue. We left off, I believe, at deciding how we will go, if we were going to change any committees or merge any committees. So we are up to, let's just give, anybody need an update? Everybody has the bylaws in front of them. So we are starting with article, is that 6?
6. Yes.
And,
Marino,
yes.
this Helene, are these the old bylaws or the new bylaws that we have in front of us?
Yeah, we have these are the old bylaws that we are currently working on.
Okay.
They are not going to be finalized until the board, until all the edits, all the changes that the committee recommends are made, and that they are voted on by the executive board and the full board.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's continue. So we left off with a discussion of, I think it was, I think we were talking about the parks, recreation, what we were gonna do with that. I know that we're seeing this now about the housing, land use and zoning X'd out, but I don't think we X'd that out. So, okay. So
No,
do-
yes, we did. We went
Yes,
over
did.
them. We went over them very quickly,
Right,
and we figured, we saw that it was there twice.
But,
that's what it was. Okay, right,
It may
right,
have been that we didn't cut it out then, cross it out.
right,
then.
right. Okay, that's what it was. Okay. So the question was, are we going to try to merge the committees that we discussed possibly merging and changing, and we were committed on changing the name of the Parks, Recreation and Cultural Affairs. I think the question was whether we were going to go forward with merging public safety, quality of life with environment and sanitation. Any discussion from the committee?
I believe that we did talk about it at length because Betty, you can chime in on this, because a lot of the issues that Betty has kind of coincide with public safety, and things with public safety were coinciding with environment and sanitation. And we kind of got to the point where we agreed that these two can actually work together hand in hand, even if it's one meeting every other month or things like that. So it's a bigger conversation between the two committees.
So,
my concern is the condition of our district after COVID. I think that certainly if you walk the business districts, remember we have 4, there's a lot still to be done. And the whole issue of the environment is getting bigger and bigger as we move on. My feeling is it would be best to keep both committees. And if you look at the other committee, public safety, we certainly have an uptick in crime. And my feeling is that if we keep the committees separate, there's no need, if they don't have a topic for a monthly meeting, for them to meet every month because it's not in the bylaws. But I feel we would get more done and cover more issues. And from time to time, both chairs could have a joint meeting, but I feel strongly that these are 2 very important committees right now.
I think we got to this place because there was such a positive feedback, and Victor and Betty chime in because there was positive feedback in the way that they handled their committees jointly.
right,
And how things were being resolved and spoken about at those meetings. That's why I think this conversation came about.
Yes, but if you invite sanitation to one of these joint meetings and also somebody from the 52nd, whatever, I think the needs are different, and I feel, you don't want the meetings to go on forever either.
I agree.
I
I
know.
know that I'm backpedaling on my suggestion, but I think right now, as I agree with Barbara, that the needs of the community board in light of climate change, the issues with sanitation, whatever's happening with quality of life. I mean, there is an overlap. When we talk about quality of life, we're really talking about the very things that we cover in my committee. But at the same time, I think I agree with Barbara that if we have we have to be very careful about how we craft the agendas so that there is not meetings that will go on, indefinitely. And whether we're doing this by Zoom or in person, I want to be mindful of that I do not want meetings to go on for a long time because of the type of agenda items that are on there. So I agree. I think you raise a good point that we could, I don't have to have a meeting every month. I was already moving to doing every other month anyway. And at times there could be meetings that could be consolidated with another committee, whether it's with Health and Human Services or with Quality of Life. So I think our concern about committee participation more than anything else, and that's the biggest issue of all.
Yes.
Which is why, okay, Victor, go ahead. You're the
Thank
chair.
you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, Helene had her hand up raised.
Thank you. I do want to say that I understand everyone's point, but I would disagree. I think we need to look at merging some of the committees because we're not getting a lot of participation at the other committees.
Right.
And the thing is that if we're going back to in place, people are not able to go to different meetings every day, right? So if we merge, we're able to capture more of the community. And also, we'll have better engagement, not only from, like I mentioned, the community, but from members of the committee.
Right.
And we have to prep ourselves for the future where it's not going to be as easy as having virtual meetings. So if we have meetings, 5 meetings a week, it's just too many meetings for the public. And if we can merge the meetings into a citywide committee, it will be best not only for the community board, but also for the community at large.
Myrna, I have my hand up.
Who's that?
Helen,
Believe.
Okay, go ahead, Helene.
okay, I have opinion on this. I agree with Betty and Barbara on this because they're two, I understand what Victor is saying, he want them merged or whatever, but these are two different committees. And you're mixing parks and recreation, public safety and quality of life with environment and sanitation. And that doesn't, so I heard someone said they go together. They do not. They two different topics. And I understand, what Victor said, well, we want to merge them to get more participation. But to me, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you want to mix public safety and quality of life with environmental and sanitation? Those two don't go together no matter how you put it. You need to tell me how public safety, being safe, and the quality of life deal with environment and sanitation. That's two different things. And like Betty and Ms. Strong just said, it's going to go long and long. It's just going to draw out.
Okay, so Helene, I think like you might be new to this conversation because we had a really lengthy.
No. Wait, let me speak. I understand what y'all had. I know I'm jumping in. I know I'm new to it, but I'm just stating my opinion.
Yeah, but you can say your opinion.
I'm just stating my opinion, and I'm saying, and I'm agreeing what they saying that these two. I understand y'all had a topic, and I listened what y'all said, but these two should not be merged. They should not be merged together.
Yeah, except what's happened in both committees. I'm going to tell you what happens in both committees. We've been covering almost the same exact issues. The only thing that we don't cover in these committees is if there's a special event happening in the Parks Department. That would not be covered in Victor's committee. But we've been dealing, because quality of life, we deal with the rat issues. We deal with the we deal with the noise. We deal with, everything is literally overlapping. And what we're trying to say is that if you want the community to come to these meetings, you want them, and if you want the issues resolved, and you want to keep board members, because what's happening is board members are feeling stretched. We cannot make all these committee meetings. And so what's happening is you're going to continue to lose really, really good committee members. What happens is, I know somebody put up Community Board 8. Well, you have a lot of retired people that serve on those committees. In Community Board 7, you have a lot of young people that are still working. And so, you're not going to have quality people sitting on the board that are going to be able to address the needs of the community.
Myrna, if I may chime in really quick. So yes, to everyone's point, everyone has a good point, right? Yes, other community boards, specifically 8 and 11, haven't had any transition in membership, meaning they have a very active membership. They rarely have vacancies. So that works for those two particular community boards. Unfortunately, Community Board 7 has become very transient, we've lost membership, and that's an issue, right? So in order to keep people engaged and satisfied in their respective committees, the argument was to increase their membership and creating a committee that's called municipal services. That would include municipal services, right? Which would include OEMS, FDNY, NYPD, DSNY, and DEP. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it depends. What you see in these committees is that no one committee in 1 month has such a pressing issue that is so lengthy, right? Like in one given time, transportation has a presentation, at a given time, Betty will have a presentation, and the PD is always for the most part, at the public safety committee, right? So the argument is in order to reduce committees and increase membership. There are many people that want to serve on the housing committee. There are many people who want to serve on other committees. And because you have to deviate up evenly, the number 7 seems to be the best one. Right now, the way this board is, no one really has the time to serve on more than one committee. And it's not working with the current membership. Now, we could sit here and criticize the current membership, but we don't appoint them, right? We inherit whatever the powers to be appoint. And that's something to take into real consideration. And I know that we're having a lot of upticks in different things, but we also have to understand that we're also not the city council, right? We're here to create awareness, invite folks to speak, and get the legislators to listen to us, right? But ultimately, this is resolved through the legislator, and we're here to make those recommendations. This is not going to change how efficient the board could be, but rather how much more participation we can get. One, from the public and from people, because moving forward, we are going to be in person. This happens to be one of those things that the mayor signed his executive order because the state law changed, giving the mayor authority over his or her municipality, right? So this is why we're going remote. But understand that moving forward, we have a different community, right? That may have 2 or 3 jobs, has different income levels than those that serve in board 8 and 11. And in order to be accommodating, this is why there was such a lengthy conversation on making this combination. It's not that the issues are different, it's that they're all municipal enforcement agencies. And if you can put them in one category, which is municipal services. I'm not agreeing with anyone, I'm not disagreeing with anyone, but as a district manager looking from the outside and listening to everyone, this is something that I think would be best efficient for people's schedules, for people's time, for the agency's time, and the most beneficial for the community to get the most information in one shot. This is not like to kind of divvy up issues, right? It's not to chop them up and dismiss them, not at all. If anything, you have everybody in the room, because reality is that DOT issues are environment and sanitation issues. Reality is that police department issues, everybody calls the cops for everything, right? You see an abandoned car, you think it's PD, it's really sanitation, right? Like, these are things that if you have the agencies in the room, you can rotate the agencies. You don't have to congest the meetings unless it's a big issue. You can also have a second meeting, right? There's so many options here, but I don't want anyone to feel that they're wrong for wanting more. I don't want anyone to feel that they're wrong for wanting less, but understand why we need less at this time, because unfortunately we don't have the engagement from our members, and we don't appoint them. So it's hard. We have to work with what we have. So I just wanted to share that.
All right. And it basically was to give, more access even to the public, because instead of them having to come to 4 different meetings, they come to one committee meeting and say, oh yeah, they're addressing my need. And one of the things that we did say, if you remember, Betty, to resolve it, it was that if we're going to meet every month, that each month would have a different emphasis, unless
Right.
it's a special issue coming up, which
Correct.
I think that makes more sense. And sometimes the meeting will go a little longer, but it's better that than having 2 separate meetings and having this meeting going for 2 hours and that meeting going for 2 hours. And there was an issue, I remember in the past, where people were having trouble getting quorum when we were doing in person. So this is a way to ensure quorum also.
Okay, let me just, I'll be real quick, and then I have to mute myself because I have to finish doing something, and I apologize that I'm jumping in, but I just want to get my 2 cents in before we continue. I'm happy with that. I just think that we just have to be careful when we do this, that I think we need to really spell out what each committee really does and can focus on. That's one thing. Two, to Helene's point about quality of life, we're talking about things like sanitation and garbage. They do show up and come up in the quality of life, public safety. Maybe that's too grandiose. And I'm just thinking that maybe we should just be very focused. So when we have our executive committee meetings, we should be discussing, maybe those are one of the places where we can be discussing agenda for future meetings so that we're not overlapping, doing the same thing. And maybe we shouldn't have FDNY or NYPD at every single meeting, or having DEP or DSNY at every single meeting. A lot of these issues that come up can be resolved through the office. I have told people that consistently. I really would prefer that they come to our meetings with suggestions or whatever, but if they have issues, take it up with the staff, copy me. I never get an email. I give my email all the time to the community. Nobody ever emails me and says, Betty, there is garbage here. The only person who does that is Serial Guarino. He's the only person who does that. Nobody else, but they come to the meetings to complain about these things instead of taking it up with the staff. The staff is very astute and able and efficient to be able to take the issue up further with the individual and try to resolve it, those individual things. But I think our meeting needs to be focused on bigger issues. And so I'm just saying, let's just be careful. If we move in this direction, we just need to be careful how we craft the agenda. So it's not, a long, city diner kind of agenda with everything in it. It has to be very focused, and that's.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. But I think the original discussion, which is calling the committee municipal services, is probably the right thing to do. But Andrew, you had your hand up. Did you lower your hand, or you were?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've listened to the pros and cons, and it's the same issues rehashed like 1,000 times. I think at this point we should vote on what we think the committee should be, and then present it to the full board and let the full board decide what they think is the way to go. And I think that to do that properly, because we've spent a lot of time thinking about this, I think we should maybe present it to the board like pros and cons. What are we trying to do? Why are we merging committees? What are our reasons for merging committees? What are the potential downsides? The cons, and let the board vote. I mean, we just keep on restating over and over again I think we thoroughly know what the issues are.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thing. It's now 7:30. And I think, present it to the board and let the board decide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good idea,
So
Andrew.
you're already doing that. Now you're being a little redundant, and this is gonna drag to get approved, just so you know. You're already doing that. As you go along this, you're presenting this to the full board. So the board is not gonna vote on it on sections. It's gonna vote on it as a whole merger of change in bylaws. So they're gonna do that regardless.
Good.
So I'm confused. Are you gonna present
I
this in
think
pieces
what
or as a whole?
What Andrew is saying, that this is a major change for our community board.
Right, but it's up to the board to also
And I
read through
think
all the
it's something
changes.
that needs more discussion than presenting all our changes here and saying,
So
vote
you're
on the
saying,
new
so what are you
bylaws
saying?
or
You're
what.
changing the
So
way
I'm
this is gonna
saying-
be presented?
I'm saying that we should have a discussion, I agree with Andrew, on the committees itself, and then come back to this committee. I agree. We need to get people's opinion.
How about this? Okay, we are the bylaws committee, right?
Exactly.
We are the ones looking, dissecting and making changes and suggestions as to what we think would work best for the board, and looking at it with a future lens, right? This is what we're doing. We're looking at it for a future lens. I do agree that quality of life does mix in with a lot of things that has to do with environment and sanitation. Municipal services makes a little bit kind of sense to me, but I understand how people have their strong opinion on keeping things separate. What I think we should do is move on from this. We have to maybe have a separate meeting or separate discussion as to how we can put this together without causing a ruckus as to everybody, feelings about it, and just think of it logically as to what's going to work best for the future of the board.
This is not going to get done anytime soon. If you guys continue to drag this and now cutting it into sections, you're looking at next year in September.
Yeah, this is the issue. The issue is we're going to make recommendations. The board is either going to vote it up or the board is going to vote it down. And
They
we
have to
don't
read.
leave it-
The board's responsibility is to read every section.
Right. I mean, we already kind of decided on we were going to merge these two committees. The question was, were we going to merge any other committees? That was the issue, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like what's the point of having this committee then?
Okay.
You're wasting people's
I
time.
Yeah.
I agree that we just need to move on. This is a recommendation
Right.
to
Exactly.
create municipal services.
Yep.
I also agree with Andrew that at the time that this comes up before the full board, that we come ready with the pros and cons to be able to share that with the rest of the board, and let the board decide as a whole whether we keep it as two separate committees. Do we change their names totally and call it something else? I don't know, but I think that we made a decision. Let's go with it. We'll figure it out. The devil's in the details. How it will actually work. And if those come up, we have the other board, the full board to help, craft that possibility. We don't put all of that into our bylaws, every single detail as to how we would go about doing this. We're just going to merge the committees, or that's a recommendation. And if the full board says no, then we go back to having our separate committees. That's all.
Jahira, instead of making the comments in the bylaws, put the comments in a comment. Because this is gonna be confusing if someone else next month and you're not available.
I'm just, for no keeping purposes, don't worry, it's not gonna be there.
No, you have to do it in public. You can't do it later. This document cannot be touched later.
Okay.
This document has to be touched in real time. That's why I'm saying it. Because I say next month you can, it's gonna be a little confusing for someone else.
Okay, so let's moving. I'm even afraid to say that, because we were talking about the parks and cultural affairs, if we were going to do anything with that and the education.
No, I thought the conversation, if you're gonna call it municipal services, would be the merging of those two committees, public safety and environment. Am I correct in assuming that?
Right.
Okay, so it's those two committees you're talking about as municipal services.
Right. I think the other conversation was the part of the Parks and Recreation and Cultural Affairs.
What do you call that?
I thought that, for some reason, I thought that Cultural Affairs had some other connotation, but I'll leave it at that,
Okay. All right.
Also, just to be clear, also, like, don't get caught up on titles. The committee is tasked with defining its committee also. So not everything needs to be in a title, right?
True.
I think we get caught up in that too often. Like, it could be just Parks and Recreation. And in the blurb for it on the website, it can be defined as in addition to. I'm gonna give an example. When you guys changed it from Health to Human Services and got rid of Senior Services was absorbed in that committee, right? So, and if you look at the description for it, it has that Senior Services, Immigrant Services, as well as, I forget what the other is in that category. So don't get caught up in the title is what I'm saying. You can always define it in your
Define the
blurb.
definition, yes.
Titles are just a direction for general topics there.
Okay. So can we move on? So are we going to touch this anymore? Are we done with this? Okay. So I'm missing,
How far did we get after that? Because I know we skipped it last time and we moved on, so how far did we get? Myrna, after that?
did we talk about the chairs? I'm looking, do we make any? Because you would have made notations.
No, I don't see any notations.
No, I think that's it. We froze
That's it.
there.
Yeah,
Okay, we broke right there.
Okay, so let's continue there. So
Okay.
there we go, section 2. Do we want, somebody want to read that out loud? Or do you just want to read it to yourselves and see if you have an issue?
Well, keep it steady.
Sorry.
Standing chair committee.
I-
Just a committee chairperson and vice chairperson. Committee chairperson shall be appointed or removed by the board chairperson with the approval of the full board. A committee shall consist of not less than 3 appointed board members appointed by the board chairperson in consultation with the committee chair. Community members who have volunteered may be appointed by the chairperson of the committee. The number of non-board members of any committee must be less than 50% of the said committee. Non-board members are not eligible to vote, make motions, or attend executive sessions. The Budget, Personnel, and Ethics Committee shall be composed of board members only and must be at least 18 years of age. That doesn't make sense. The wording isn't good. No person may be appointed as chairperson of more than one standing committee. A list of committee chairpersons and committee members shall be provided to all board members. B, the committee chairpersons shall serve for a term of 1 year and may be eligible to serve successive terms upon review by the board chairperson. All right, any comments?
Oh, you had the issue of the age.
Barbara, the age, isn't,
The age, yeah, the way it was written.
don't we allow board members as young as 16?
I thought they changed that age, yes.
Yeah, okay.
So how can we word that we would include anybody who's younger? I'm sure are you sure it's 16?
Yeah.
There was a
Sure.
reason,
Okay, all right, then budget personnel.
there was a reason that we put in 18. Some people expressed a concern that there were issues that could come up to the Budget, Personnel, Ethics Committee that involved issues of a nature that an adult would be able to consider, and somebody under 18 wouldn't legally, say like sexual harassment or something of that
Okay,
nature. That somebody else brought that up, and everybody agreed, yeah, we better put that in there.
I kind of agree with leaving it at 18 because you don't know what's going to come up in the ethics and personnel committee.
Well, I think it's also the legal standing in the city of New York that you're considered an adult at the age of 18.
Right.
You're considered emancipated from your parents, and you are basically responsible for your own actions at that age.
Right, because it's if in that committee, a lot of stuff is discussed that cannot be shared with the public.
right, okay.
Right.
I
So
think
a
it's a level,
16-year-old, right,
I
a
think it's also a
16-year-old.
level of maturity that we're
Yeah.
like. kind
Yeah,
of
but it's not even that
like,
because you can't hold a 16-year-old to confidentiality,
Yeah.
see, legally. Am I-
Can we change and to who?
Um,
It'll sound better. Shall be composed of board members only who must be at least 18 years
Yeah.
of age.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
fine.
You're welcome.
So that's, everybody's agreed to leave it at 18 for
Right.
those
Okay,
reasons. Okay, so is everybody okay with that section? We can move to the next one.
all right. Section 3, the chairperson of each standing committee shall preside at committee meetings and at public hearings conducted by the committee. All committees must take minutes, attendance, and submit them to the district manager in a timely fashion as required by the city charter, including but not limited to any motions or letters. All committees shall make reports during the general board meetings.
I would change not just to the district manager, I would say to the community board or to the staff.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because if the manager's on vacation.
Right, that's a good point. Staff,
So,
to community board staff.
I think I would change their chairperson or their designee. So for example, the chairperson can't make a standing committee member, but there's, an assistant chairperson, or the assistant chairperson can't make it,
Yeah.
and the committee chairperson can't make it. They can designate another committee
Person.
member to
Okay.
decide, so something like that.
All right, sounds good.
No, don't put CB7, just staff.
To staff. Okay, that's good.
I would just say and district manager, not or.
Yeah,
You're
that's
not
good.
excluding the district manager.
Yeah. To staff / district manager, or whatever, and district manager. Okay, that looks good. Anything else?
I think, should we put the what is it, 72 hours? Agendas have to be in a timely fashion. I mean, I know it says it here, but no one takes that serious.
You know what? Yes, I think you should put it in.
If that changes, then we would have to change the bylaws, so I think we have to maybe, or maybe parentheses currently 72 hours, something like that.
You have timely fashion that covers
So we can,
multitude.
How about instead of a timely or 72 hours prior to the executive committee meeting? Because don't you?
No, so agendas have to be emailed out within 3 business days.
Oh, we're
before
talking about the agenda.
A
Okay,
week,
for the
I'm sorry,
minutes.
a week before the meeting, and then. Actually, let me look that up, because I'm confused now.
well,
between
here,
agendas and
each of
minutes.
committees, meetings and public hearings conducted by a committee must take minutes, attendance, and submit them to staff in a timely fashion. This is just going back to where after the committee has met.
Yeah, this is the minutes.
Yeah, this is
Right.
after the fact.
So remember that we are subject to other rules that have nothing to do with our bylaws. So that's what I'm trying to,
So there
I
should be
sent
an
that.
addition.
yeah, can we go back to that, put a thing on it? Let me just get you the exact verbiage from the controller's office on timing.
I'm
I mean,
just
just
gonna put
because you
agenda
give
here.
the minutes, the staff and the district manager, it's got to be published within a certain period of time for the general public to look at. That's what's important.
But but this particular paragraph does not include
Anytime.
the
Yeah.
agendas. This particular paragraph
Oh,
is talking about after the fact of the meeting, what the committee chairs should be, what their responsibilities are to do after their meeting, which is to take the minutes, attendance, and submit them in. That's what this paragraph is talking about.
All right, so we'll add another sentence.
I can give you,
For all committees must be submitted within so many hours.
yeah,
Before
leave
the
that, put in
committee
a
meets.
comment and put DM to follow up. So for the next meeting, I'll have the exact,
Okay, words, okay.
yeah, because it's not our wording.
Okay,
It's
that's
the city
fine.
charter, you know?
Okay, section 3, got it.
I know it's 72 hours for agendas and stuff, but like, I want to make sure that I give you the exact time frame for when minutes have to be published post meeting. They should be published in real time. So for example, like the YouTube video, I'm sorry, this particular video gets published in real time. Granted, we get to it.
I would just add, chairperson or designee of each standing committee shall set agendas and preside at committee meetings and at public hearings conducted by the committee.
Wait, say that again, Andrew. The chairperson or designee of each standing committee shall what?
Set agendas and preside at committee meetings and at public hearings conducted by the committee.
Why don't you list out their responsibilities? Because now it's getting messy. The
Yeah.
chairperson or designee of each standing committee shall have the following responsibilities and
That's
then
good.
list them.
That could be.
Yeah, we could do that.
I think it's a lot better to do that than having a whole bunch of sentences.
I agree.
Sounds good.
That way we can kind of bring in what everybody's saying and list them out, A, B, C, D, whatever.
Okay, so we can add that as we go.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so. All right, are we moving along to section 4?
Do you want me to continue or someone else want to read?
I'll read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Section 4, the board may by resolution establish such ad hoc committees as it shall deem advisable. Any such committee shall have and may exercise such powers as may be granted to it by such resolution. The resolution may also provide for the composition of the committee, the method of appointment of its chairperson, who shall be a member of the board, and its members, its purpose, its length of existence, and any other matters concerning its operation. Any committee established by such a resolution may at any time be terminated by resolution of the board.
That kind of contradicts another section in the bylaws that says that the chair creates the ad hoc.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
the
so
problem.
like you may want to put a pin on this one, Jahira, and go back to and see where you find that other part, because there's a part in there, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew and Barbara, there's a part in there that says the chair creates this
Totally.
committee.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna
Does.
here go back
Just, yeah,
for reference purposes, okay?
yeah, you guys can combine all that.
Yeah,
Okay, section 5, the chairperson of the board shall refer each item referred to the board under the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure, ULURP, to the Housing, Land Use, and Zoning Committee. If the committee files a report with the board, such report shall be submitted at or prior to the meeting at which the board votes on the item. If the committee does not file a report, the chairperson of the committee shall notify the chairperson of the board at or prior to such meeting that no report will be submitted. The Housing, Land Use, and Zoning Committee shall conform to the time constraints imposed upon them by the Uniform Land Use Procedures to the time and business before that committee.
What?
There's a whole lot that I do not understand.
stand there. It's
This is
confusing.
ULURP.
Very,
have
Yeah, no, I
idea.
get it. I get it. It's pretty much saying that the committee itself should, if it takes no action, they should let the chair know that there's no action taken, but isn't that what the minutes are for? I'm confused. And motions?
And it's public information, so you can't submit something it's got to be prior to the meeting. But, you know, this is ULURP. I think they try to digest 7 pages of
Yeah, Euler.
the
ULURP.
like paragraph. Should just say something like, we will follow the land use review procedure, period.
Period. I agree. I said,
Yeah, yeah,
it should be,
definitely.
it should be the board shall follow the, you know, the Uniform Land Use and Review Procedures. That's it. I should be one simple sentence. It shouldn't be more than that.
But it should, I mean, I agree with the whole committee though, like that'll be reviewed by the Housing and Land Use Committee.
Right, you gotta keep that in, that it's
Yeah.
referred to the board under Euler to the Housing, Land Use, and Zoning Committee, okay?
So then we're taking off this.
Right, I would think so, because the committee will do what they have to do with it.
And then the part that it says shall conform to the time constraints imposed upon by them, that's important in there too.
Shall
That's
conform to the time, the time constraints are important with the Euler.
Yeah.
So I think that's last sentence should be left
Okay,
in,
so we're looking from here to get rid of.
right?
Okay. I'm just gonna bold that out so that I can get rid of it here.
Good.
We should put a note in there too, Jahira, to put an active link to define ULURP. Since the
Definitely.
bylaws are gonna be online, folks can click on what ULURP is from the bylaws.
That would be good.
You know, make it interactive, because you're gonna have board members that are unaware, right? And I know it's hard to kind of
What the
learn that
Euler
from.
is, right?
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, that's another thing, like we just have to understand that as technology evolves, we're no longer going to have paper in our hands. It's gonna be your phone, your computer, and click on a link, click on what you call it, the barcode, and that's it. That's where we're going. Moving on. Yes, no?
Go ahead.
Okay, section
Let's
6.
move to the next section, yeah.
Section 6, there shall be an executive board committee which shall be composed of members of the elected officers of the board and the appointed chairperson of each of the standing committees. The executive committee shall meet at the request of the chairperson or upon request of 1/3 of its members, and may consider such matters as it deems advisable and may take recommendations to the board. The first vice chairperson shall preside at the meetings of the executive committee. This committee shall have the power to adopt rules of procedures in accordance with the city charter. Minutes should be taken at the executive committee and be distributed to board members.
You know what I find interesting with this paragraph? That nowhere does it says that they have to meet monthly.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we've had that with committees either.
You don't have to. The only meeting you're required to have monthly is a general board meeting.
So
Mhm.
this is
By
why
the
I
city
think-
charter, that's the only one.
Yeah, because I think that's what the problem is, that sometimes, like I said, unless there's a pressing issue with, like parks, housing, and people are meeting monthly, and according to these bylaws, we don't have to do that. It could be
Yeah.
every other month, and that would make things a lot easier on the membership, just saying.
Okay, just to give you an example from my past history with the board, the executive committee used to meet just to form the agenda for the general meeting. So if there was a motion, they put it on or whatever, and it was a very short meeting, and that was it. And it was usually just the elected persons. But we've evolved from that. So maybe, with the fact that we don't set a date of monthly, that maybe we can, sometimes skip it if we don't have any controversial motions or whatever. It's up to how this committee feels.
Well, I agree, because we do have certain months where things are all over the place. For example, we have Christmas where things get canceled and nothing really happens because we're all on. We already took care of what needs to be taken care of for December. So I can agree that putting an actual time frame can make it imposable on us when we know that things happen and things change at a moment's notice, just like today.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't
So
put,
leave it as
I wouldn't put a time frame.
No, I agree with you on that. I would just leave it as is and not state it. And if we have to skip it from time to skip it, that's all.
If there's nothing pressing and nothing
Right.
urgent, then we can avoid it. I mean,
Exactly.
it's only us, really. It's only the elected boards.
Right, and we've gotten down to the point that we don't want the committee chairs to go over what
Correct.
happened at that past meeting. We give them the time at the general meeting. So unless, there's a controversial motion or whatever.
We've cut down a lot of the time for the executive board.
Right, which is good.
With cutting down those reports, because it was redundant. It really was.
Yeah, you have them in writing and you also report of it on each committee at the general meeting.
Correct.
Okay, let's move on. We don't need the last sentence. It's understood all minutes of all meetings are not only distributed to board members, but it's made to, so you don't need that last sentence.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
Take it out. Good.
You can also add it where committees start. You can add language in there for committees, I think.
Right, that they know they
Yeah,
have,
make it start off with it, right? Like where it's
Right.
go up.
make sure they know they have to do minutes.
Like on the committees, you should define what committees is. This is kind of like messy here, if you see. Like where it says committee, you should define what committees are, right? They're standing committees that should have blah, 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 like section 2 should be first and section one should be second, because you have to define the committees before you get there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's actually moving this to first.
I mean, I'm suggesting it. I'm not a board member, so don't take, I'm just suggesting order here. Like,
No, but it
you want to
makes
give
sense.
structure to,
It makes sense. It makes the structure move, like giving the definition of what it is and what the committees are and what you're expected to do.
That makes sense.
I'm just gonna put structure.
because it's important that I think to what Andrew was saying, like, it's important that you kind of like, it's understood, right? And doesn't need to be repetitive every time you mention committees, but it should definitely be at the top where all committees are expected to have the following.
Mhm.
Do you get what I'm saying, Barbara? Like,
Yes,
they're
yes.
supposed to have minutes, attendance sheet,
Attendance sheets.
right? Make it a blanket thing and then get into the nitty gritty of what this section
Yeah,
2
all
is. and-
committees must submit
Right.
How about the
attendance
structure-
sheet,
structure
minutes.
of committee responsibilities,
Right,
and then we take it from there.
right.
Yeah, you want to organize section 2, 1, 2, and 3. So it can make sense. So when
Right.
people are reading it, they're like, okay, this is what committees are.
Okay, section 7. All board members shall be members of at least one standing committee.
And then what Andrew mentioned earlier, section 8, it's already here. So I don't know, I don't know if you guys want to consider bumping this up or erasing it, because you already said that.
That the vice chair, the committee.
Right,
chair-
or a designated person would do that,
So-
right, said that.
So we agree on removing this?
Andrew?
Yeah.
Each standing committee shall appoint. Okay.
But
Yeah.
it's important that it's in there too. Like, you didn't put that, that each committee chairperson shall appoint a
Shall
vice
One
chairperson.
vice chair, that has to be stated in responsibilities or left here.
Yeah, so
I
where
would-
is it
I
that,
would put that up here.
yeah,
Within one
Yep.
of these sections, because you,
there was one that Andrew, where is it that it said that, the designee something, go down?
Each-
well, here, the chairperson of designee of each standing commission shall have the following responsibilities. So that should fall under here.
Yeah,
So we're moving this section, this section. Sorry. This is
no, the
not,
point is, this is good, just to clean it up.
this is not my forte in this area here. Cut, I was doing it this way. You know what, I'm gonna do it this way. And we'll add it to somewhere in here. Because it's a responsibility of the chairperson to appoint.
Points, right,
That's one of their responsibilities.
right,
So
definitely,
then we're going to remove this out of the,
that section,
correct.
okay.
All right, so Article 7, public hearings, Section 1. The board chairperson shall call a public hearing whenever required by the Uniform Land Use Review Procedure. The board may by resolution call additional public hearings on any matter before consideration or any matter of concern to its district. Notice of all hearings shall be given in a manner provided for in Article 4, Section 4 of these bylaws. The board chairperson shall preside at all public hearings.
Can you zoom it in? Sorry.
This is ridiculous. The board may by resolution call additional public hearings, period. Any matter before it, any matter, I mean,
I know, it's, yeah.
Not well,
notice are we given, of course, notices of all committee, everything we do is, it's redundant and it's a mess.
Yeah, that's the problem with the bylaws. We keep finding all this redundancy. So wherever we see it, let's just get rid of it.
So we're getting rid of this whole section?
I say remove the whole section, absolutely.
I agree.
Anybody else? Okay, going once, going twice, sold.
Excuse me, I had my hand up, sorry.
No,
the-
this is closed.
Myrna,
Yes,
I believe Andrew had his hand up.
yeah. Is he there? Andrew?
I'm sorry, I forgot to lower it, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
AJ, was that you?
Yeah, Jahira, this is a ad hoc.
No, I know, that's why I wanted to let him know. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, section 2, we're moving on, right? Everybody agree?
Right, move on.
Okay, so we're moving on. Section 2, prior to the start of every public hearing, each member of the public wishing to speak shall submit to the chairperson in writing a request for speaking time. Such request shall set forth his or her name, the name of any organization he or she may represent, and whether he or she favors or opposes the proposition which is the subject of the hearing. Those opposed to the proposition shall be heard first, and those in favor shall follow. The chairperson shall call only the names of those submitted requests for speaking time. Each member of the public shall be entitled to speak for at least 2 minutes, but not exceed 4 minutes as determined by the board's chairperson at the start of the hearing. Any written statement or document offered by a speaker shall be placed in the record or minutes of the hearing.
Is it a rule that those who are opposed need to speak first? Because that would be hard to determine if you had a big hearing.
No, this applies to public hearing. So this is in response to section 1. So a public hearing would be Euler. I think you
Right.
guys had one time because of the shelter.
But does that require that we would have to divvy up the participants and let only those who are opposed speak first? I never heard of that.
No, not at all. The controller's
So,
audit did
I
not
wonder why
give
we
us
have-
direction there. All they said is that we need to have part of our meeting that there be a public hearing on a specific topic.
Okay,
The specific topic in this case is always the motion before, in front of us, right?
right.
Everything else here is no, like,
Can we take that sentence out? Those opposed to the proposition shall be heard first and those in favor shall follow? I don't understand why that was there. It's not a law.
And do we have to, it seems like it's dictating every detail of the public hearing, including how many minutes or whatever. Is that really essential, or should that be part of the bylaws if we wanted to change that?
See, the thing is, we only allow people to speak for 1 minute right now.
no.
This is a public hearing, so
This
it's
is
different. It's like,
Yeah.
you
not a
know,
public session.
like, for example, Poe
See,
Park,
that's the thing.
the
Now the
design of
public
Poe
session
Park.
has to be the public hearing. I
Mhm.
think when these bylaws were written, they were written specifically, that was the confusion, right? This is the whole point, right? The audit was meant to clarify something that should have been clarified years ago, right?
Mhm.
This particular clause in the bylaws was, the way the board did it was for public hearings. Now we're forced to do public hearings monthly regardless.
Right.
This was meant for on a need basis, hence why
Right.
these rules were created, right?
Right.
So I'm sorry,
So-
I'm very bad at explaining.
This
you get where
is
I'm going with this? This is not
particular
Okay.
issue that would come up, right?
Okay, so basically, we've been since,
This is not talking about the general board meeting.
Yeah,
This is
no,
not
so-
talking
No,
about.
no, not the public session, it's the public hearing.
since the audit, now all of these things have completely changed. So
Can we take that sentence out?
we still take, we know that they have to request, right? They have to
Right.
request, state who they are, who they represent. I think this is
Right.
the thing that we should take out, because whether they are with it or not,
No, that shouldn't
we
happen.
we don't need to know.
You're right.
Right.
Take it out.
So the way the public hearing has to be now, is that the public hearing has to happen monthly on a specific topic. Right? So this whole paragraph needs to be worked completely based on the controller's audit, is what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm confused about the difference between a public hearing on a specific topic. Now we're meetings. Are those public hearings? Is what I'm trying to
So
understand.
it's not that one is different than the other, Betty, unfortunately. It's called, previous practices without knowing what the actual, I guess, rule was prior to the audit. So previous practices was that you have a public session, gallery, the general board meeting, right?
Right.
And then hearings would only be on big things like ULURPs and whatever, right?
Yeah,
But the controller's audit said, no, you're supposed to have public hearings every month on a specific topic. What this board chose to do is use the motions on the table, which is a good idea, give the public an opportunity to comment on the motions before them, which is a specific topic. So instead of calling it the public session, we have a monthly public hearing before the general board meeting. So before the board takes action on those motions, it hears from the public first. Now, in the event that there are no motions, we can
Right.
open it up to a specific topic. So in essence, this needs to be fixed because it's kind of almost not wrong, but not right. I don't know if you follow.
yeah, I totally.
Yeah, okay.
Would
understand.
that include public forums if we were to have one versus a public hearing?
No, so see, that's the thing. We're just throwing out like random titles. So no, a public, a ULURP, these are all public hearings, no matter how you put them, right? They're all public hearings. If the ULURP happens
Forum is
in month
usually-
of October, it qualifies as the public hearing right before the board. If the budget, if we're reviewing capital and expense, and that happens to happen in October, that covers the public hearing part, right?
Right.
What I'm trying
Right.
to say is like, there's a requirement for us to do it, period, every month, period.
Okay. And that would include, if we have a motion, we bring that up, but if people have signed up just to get up and speak about another issue, that would all be included under the term public hearing, correct?
Correct. So what you're trying to give here is what I see, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this section is trying to give guidance on how public hearings, monthly public hearings are going to be held, right?
Right,
So
right.
now we have to change wording completely, right?
So it
And
would-
maybe say, and again, we can probably have someone from the controller's office help us with language so we could put a pin on it.
how about
But
say prior to the start of, and we can put in parentheses,
Monthly meeting,
monthly public hearing / meeting.
during the
Right.
general board, well, you could just say monthly public hearing, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, a month, so instead of
prior
every,
to the general board meeting.
prior to, so we want to take off the start.
Yeah, prior, yeah, that's good.
So we're gonna make this prior
To the
monthly, because it's.
prior to monthly board meeting.
No, you have to say public hearing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Board meeting and public hearing are two different things.
But do we want to define those somehow? Do we want to make that, clarify that? I'm just, for the sake
Well, no,
of,
because she just explained
that-
that the controller's office made it clear that we have to have this.
So let me be
Monthly.
very clear, all meetings are public meetings, so it doesn't matter. We don't have to say public meeting. All meetings are public, we're subjected to open meeting law, so that's mute. What we're referring to here is specifically the monthly public hearing. So in order to not have two meetings, we have the public hearing right before the general.
right,
So prior to the monthly public hearing, each member of the public wishing to
Wishing to speak shall
speak
submit.
shall
to the
submit to the
chairperson.
chairperson in writing a request for speaking time, period.
So we have to change writing and the whole chairperson, because that has to be submitted to the office.
Exactly, so that's what I was gonna get to next, so it should be, to shall submit their request to the staff, to the chairperson or DM.
No, I think you should just say it's to be submitted to the office.
Okay.
But we don't have an office, so couldn't we?
Barbara,
Staff?
but it's not office theoretically. Office is not a space. Office is like a place of congregation. It could
Yeah,
be
but
online and.
Staff, no?
Think it should stay office. It's the entity. It's not,
Exactly.
Entity, yeah.
It's not the,
that includes DM, office
Every-
staff,
yeah.
whatever.
Everybody. So it should
To the
be
office staff.
reach out to the office,
Office.
to the office. Can we say via email, via writing?
no, just to submit to the office. That's the thing. You don't want to limit it, right? So just some office. I don't think you need to put everything. I mean, correct me
A
if I'm wrong.
request for speaking time.
Okay. So we're gonna take this out.
Yeah.
Should say board office.
Okay.
Yes.
What office?
Right.
Okay, board office, request for speaking
Speaking
time.
time, period. Such requests.
Shall include their name, organization. I think this is a lot of redundancy here. So it should include, the request shall include, it should be like this, include their,
And it doesn't need to say his, just say name.
Name,
say,
Yeah, just include, not even there.
the name of an
Include,
organization.
right,
yeah, name,
Affiliation or organization, if applicable.
I
It
like
could-
affiliation is better.
yeah, I like affiliation better over organization.
Right, but if it's applicable, it could be just a private citizen wanting to
True.
mouth off, whatever, I don't know. So if it's applicable,
Affiliation, if any,
Yeah,
comma.
that's good,
Right.
Andrew.
Manny,
To be name, comma, affiliation, if any, comma. You don't have to say the name, just name any affiliation.
Shall include name, affiliation, right?
Affiliation, if any, comma.
If any, comma,
Right. He or she may represent. Or they may.
That they
Oh,
represent.
they represent.
Of course, I mean,
And then all of this should.
and contact information.
Yes.
Because what I see
Yes.
often sometimes folks will come speak and it's about a topic that I want to follow up with them on, right? Because they're bothered by it, and then I have no contact. That happened to me one
Yes,
time.
put that in, you got it, okay.
Okay, and then take all this out.
Hold
correct?
that out, right,
The opposed propositions, we're gonna take
yeah,
that
that
out.
goes,
This shall
I think you
person-
should remove they represent. I mean, no kidding, your affiliation, whether you are officially
If
representing
any,
them.
yeah, you should,
Could
yeah.
just affiliation, if any.
any,
Okay, so let's take this out.
and contact information.
Contact information. The chairperson shall call
Only the names of those submitted requests
for
speaking
speaking
time.
time. Each member of the public shall be entitled to speak for at least 2 minutes and not exceed 4 minutes. That's the
So
term.
remember, this is hearings, right? So this verbiage still has to change some more because we allow folks to sign up in person. We give them a 15-minute window. So remember what we're changing here. We're not changing what we've done. What we're changing is a more inclusive language, right? That also applies to the public hearings we have right before the general. So remember, we give people a grace period. That's, if you look at the general board agenda, it's up there. It says that we give people a grace period to sign up between 6:30 and 6:45, at which time we close it. Remember that public hearing is open to elected officials, agencies, and the public. So what you're gonna have to do is look at the general board minutes, agenda, and take some of that language and put it in here, because it's already on the agenda. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So it's to add that we are proactively giving a specific time frame for people to actually physically sign up before we go into the public hearing of the meeting.
And I think the word public hearing should be capitalized, capital P, capital H. We have a capital H at the end, but I think, we should be consistent. Call it a public hearing with capital letters, so it.
So Jahar, you can copy and paste from the
Yeah,
minute,
yeah.
the agenda,
Okay.
and then modify from there.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna put add from minutes, time of public.
And then modify it to make sense here.
a minute.
Because this is what it is. I think we keep going back and forth for what this is versus the public hearing. It's no different.
Yeah, this is a reminder because I know exactly what it is. Okay,
This is different. Public hearing, chairperson, all that stuff, that's hearing. Like you
Why
mean,
is
they
the
don't-
H capitalized in hearing next to the last sentence? You have to be consistent.
No, but all that stuff is gonna be taken out because
Yeah, this is
it's
gonna
gonna
take
use
it
the
out.
same language from the general board meeting.
yeah, because this all changes now. This goes.
Okay.
oh. Well, what about if they do give a written document? What do? Do we want to keep this?
Yeah, you should.
So the only thing we're
In
changing.
the record of the minutes, right?
This part and any written statement or document offered by a speaker shall be placed.
Into the record or minutes of the hearing. Yeah, I think you should keep it because that may happen.
Shall be placed on the record. But they do.
So
say-
then I think we need to put something in the general board meeting agenda that includes that any flyers or advertisements should be shared or something with the secretary. I think Nora used to do that when folks used to come
Yes,
with
she
events and stuff. She would collect the flyers and then put them in the
right, she
minutes
always
later.
made sure she had copies.
But since we're not doing hard copies anymore, we have links, at least
Well, for
some
the
sort
time
of
being
reference to
anyway.
it, yeah.
Right,
So this section 2 has to be completely like merged with that paragraph at the agenda and this one and kind of come together in a good, healthy way where it's compliant.
right.
Because remember, this is compliance. This is not like because we want to. Or what we wish to see. This is compliance here.
Got it, okay.
So we have to come back to that. And when that paragraph is done, I want to take it and send it to the controller's office.
Okay.
Because that's
This one is, we're going to, I'm just gonna,
yeah, that one is,
yeah, this one needs a look
we
over.
have to be
by the-
compliant.
Yeah. for
And we have to
compliance.
articulate that we're compliant, right?
Okay, we're moving on.
It's 8:21.
Yes.
We want to finish the last two.
Yeah,
sections
let's finish
here?
the last two sections.
Okay.
Any written statement or document shall become part of the official record.
Okay,
Good.
records or minutes, because I deal with that too.
Okay.
Okay, section 3, any provisions of section 2 of this article, Article 7 may be modified by the board present at any public hearing, and the board shall have the power to adopt additional rules with regards to the conduct of any such hearing. I mean, I think this goes in conjunction with what we're trying to do in section 2.
Just above, right?
Yeah, it's kind of,
That's kind of repetitious. I mean,
Again,
already
another
stated.
redundancy.
yeah. I think
Right.
since this is going to be reviewed by the controller's office at some point, then maybe the provisions should be put in here, like,
Yeah, maybe we
that
should. move up
that the
to-
board, what powers does the board actually have to make additional changes?
All right, so
With regards to, like, with this is what I'm.
Yeah,
confused with.
just copy that up there.
Yeah,
The board shall have the power to adopt additional rules with regard to the conduct of any such hearing, which is
yeah,
fine. So I'm just move it up.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think this will need to be included here.
And take out the other.
Mhm. And then we can remove this whole entire section.
Right, that's good.
Okay, section 4, after the conclusion of any public hearing held pursuant to the Uniform Land Use Review Procedures, the board chairperson shall be responsible for the submission of the board's recommendation and the record of the hearing pursuant to the rules of the Uniform Land Use and Procedures. Sorry, Uniform Land Use Procedures.
That
This
sounds.
goes back to the ULURP.
Mhm.
Stop. Sorry.
I mean, this goes back to the ULURP where,
Where do we have that? How far up?
in my opinion, this should come up
With the ULURP, no?
with the ULURP. This should be up
Yes.
here.
Yeah,
It should be there.
Yeah, this is way too far down to even,
no, right,
yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
take,
move it up.
yeah, this should be either included or be a section, an added section with the ULURP up here.
Mhm.
Right before 6, section.
Yeah, should be.
Yep.
Just, I'm gonna remove
Change that to a 5.
addition,
Good.
Okay.
and then we can get rid of this here.
Get rid
We
of
don't need this here.
section 4. Okay, good.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've done great work today.
Yes, we did.
So
This
I'm-
has cleared up a lot of stuff and we're almost at the finish line.
yeah, well, thank you very much for bearing with the technical difficulties. Thank you, Hira, for all your help, and Aisha.
Yeah, look, we only have one page left.
Wow, yay.
Less than a
So-
page. If we look at it, in actuality, look, we have less than a page left to go.
Yes.
We just have to polish it up then, that's all.
Yeah, we just have to polish it to meet the new, the controller's standards, the Department of Law standards and see, make sure that we're going in the right direction. And I think we are.
And so I'd like to thank the public that stayed and other board members. Your input's been helpful. Helene.
After
Well,
this document is done, we can also send to the law department for review. Like, we'll send it out. This is not a blanket document that we're gonna put together and just, for anyone who's listening, this is not something that we're doing blindly. This is something that we're gonna ask for the law department, the controller's office to review to ensure that we're in compliance before we bring it before the full board.
yes. Thank you.
We're working very hard on this and we're getting to it. And hopefully this will be the future bylaws for the next, members that come in and want to actually be participants and want to move forward. Because let's be honest, we're not getting any younger. We're getting older. We're not going to be here forever. So we have to leave something behind that everybody's going to be able to follow and understand.
Okay. Thank you. So anybody want to make a motion to end the meeting?
Motion to end the meeting.
Second?
Second,
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, good night. Thank you, everybody, for your
Night.
hard work.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everyone.
everybody. Good night.
All right.
Right.
And now you don't have far to go for home, to get home.